You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now. Welcome to episode 13 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Fridge, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. That includes the NECC, the ACAC, and the Northeast 8. And so, the first week of the football sectionals are completed. The regional section of volleyball has been completed. Cross country is now into its final week of the season as the state finals will take place on Saturday. And exactly 1 week from now, the first official week of the 2024-2025 high school girls basketball season. College basketball is already underway across the nation, and so we are not too far off from basketball becoming a everyday talk here at Around the Northeast Corner. And so we'll talk about basketball, especially next week, as I will have some guests on basketball to preview some of the opening games coming up that week. But without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss the football aspects of the state tournament. And I think when we kick things off with Class 1A, I think we have to discuss with, obviously, 1A Sectional 43, the Fremont Eagles down 7-6, I believe, early in that game. There was a delay due to some lighting malfunction at Northfield. Northfield was the host of that game, and Fremont came back, led by Colton Armstrong's 3 rushing TDs, and the Fremont Eagles defeat the Norse by the score of 35-21. And now the Fremont Eagles find themselves in a very interesting position, playing in the sectional semifinals for the first time in a long time at Fremont. First time since 2018 that Fremont is playing in the second round of the sectional tournament. They'll take on a very strong North Miami team that's 8-2 on the season. They defeated the Blackhawk Christian in their very first postseason appearance, 54-14. I will discuss more in detail about those matchups in a later video. But congratulations to Fremont on their first round win in the playoffs for football. 1A 44 South Adams cruised to the 51-0 win over the Union City Indians. They are going to be traveling down south to Tri High School. They'll take on a very good Tri Titans team that likes to run the football. And this will be the ACAC game of the week at Around the Northeast Corner. South Adams looking to punch their ticket to the sectional championship game next week. Also, by the way, Madison Grant did defeat Monroe Central. They are seen as the favorites in that sectional. They defeated Monroe Central 38-7. They're going to be taking on Hagerstown. Madison Grant seen as the heavy favorites to win that matchup there, as well as winning the sectional altogether. You look at 2A Sectional 35. Adams Central cruised to the 35-7 win over Bluffton. Matt Heiser with a touchdown, and then Cameron Fravel having a strong game defensively, of course. And then Jamison Roach, the quarterback of Adams Central, combined for 3 touchdowns total in that win over the Bluffton Tigers. They are going to be hosting the Churubusco Eagles, who were down 23-20 early in the game. They came back to score 22 unanswered, and they came back to beat the Manchester Squires, the home team in that contest, by the score of 42-23. Angelo Inicelli is one of the nominees for the Performer of the Week at Around the Northeast Corner for football. He had 25 carries for 226 yards and 3 TDs, 2 catches for 14 yards, and an additional touchdown in that win over the Squires. Busco is going to have to play their best football going to the landing strip in a row down in Adams County to take on the 3-time reigning state finalists, the Adams Central Flying Jets. You then have Eastside defeating Whitco 35-7 off of the tremendous performance from Joe Bridgman of Eastside, 9 carries for 126 yards and 3 for 90 yards with 3 touchdowns in that win over the Wildcats. They are going to travel to Prairie Heights. They're going to be taking on the Ouida Heights of Prairie, however you want to call them, Prairie Heights Panthers. 5-5 on the season. They already had the most wins in a single season since 2013, and Prairie Heights is one win away from their most wins in a season since 1986 when they won 7 games that year. I will be discussing this season of Prairie Heights football with their head coach, Pat McCrea, later in the show. But Prairie Heights will be hosting that matchup against the Eastside Blazers. And then you look at 3A Sectional 26, Garrett Cruz to the 50-26 win over Lakeland. 3 players rushed for 100 yards. Alex Guzman, Cam Rubel, and Calder Hefty. Hefty also threw for about, I believe it was like 89 passing yards or something like that, and a pair of touchdowns for the Garrett Railroaders as they will be traveling to Death Valley to take on the Tippy Valley Vikings, who dominated the Woodland Warriors 51-25, 7-3 Tippy Valley, hosting 10-0 Garrett, and that will be the NECC game of the week at around the northeast corner. West Snow will dominate Angola 42-14, led by Seth Pruitt, once again leading the way for the Chargers backfield, 22 carries for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he became the career rushing leader in the history of West Snowball High School for rushing yards. He has over 1,600 rushing yards going into this week. They're going to be hosting the Fairfield Falcons, their arch nemesis from Highway 33. Fairfield defeated the Concordia Cadets in the first round of the sectional by the score of 48-34. 31 carries for 207 rushing yards and 3 TDs from Brecken Marin, one of the seniors on this Fairfield team. And Coach Stoner has the Falcons flying high going that matchup against the West Snowball Chargers. And anytime you play a rivalry game in the postseason, it just amplifies things just a little bit more between these two rivals that clearly do not like each other whatsoever. And I think this is going to be a fun matchup in Ligonier, at least at the start. We'll see if Fairfield can hang around in this game against a very good West Snowball team. Like I said earlier with Seth Pruitt, I mean, rushing for over 4,500 yards going into that matchup and setting the career rushing leader at West Noble. He also has 68 career touchdowns as well. 3A-28, Bishop Lures dominated Norwell by the score of 42-7. They're going to Jay County to take on the Jay County Patriots, who defeated Belmont 42-7. They had a lineman with a pitch sits at Jay County. That was Austin Shaneline. Sorry, welcome back. I apologize in advance. It appeared that my computer died during the recording. So we'll go ahead and resume where we left off here. We talked about 3A Sectional 28. Jay County will face Bishop Lures at Jay County on Friday. Delta defeated the Heritage Patriots 54-14, where Delta ran, I would guess, over 300 yards rushing in that game. And unfortunately for Heritage, it seemed like they were limping in the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be limping this much in the playoffs, but I think in the end of the day, Delta just simply played better football than the Heritage Patriots. That's 2 years in a row where Delta came into the postseason with a mediocre record, although a very hard conference in the Hoosier Heritage Conference, and Delta is having success so far in the state tournament. Mississauga cannot overlook the Delta Eagles. Undefeated Mississauga is going to be hosting Delta. Ole Miss took care of business against Oak Hill after a slow first half. They scored 21 unanswered in the second half to defeat the Oak Hill Golden Eagles down in Gas City. Shifting over to Class 4A, we're going to be talking about very briefly because it's sectional where most of the matchups were not particularly the most exciting. Huntington North set a new program record for most points scored in a single game, defeating the Frankfurt Hot Dogs 77-8. And the Vikings now have 7 wins on the season. They'll be hosting a 5-4 Marion Giants team, kind of an underwhelming Marion team this season, and they are 1 win away from a spot in the sectional finals, which will be played against either Logan Sports or Lebanon. Huntington North will be on the road no matter who it is. And Logan Sport 9-1 this season. They're coming off a 35-13 win over Muncie Central. Probably going to be underdogs in this matchup against Lebanon, who came back from an early deficit to defeat Culver Academies in the fourth quarter, 35-32. Culver Academies was seen as probably the slight favorites to even win that sectional. And now Lebanon, the Tigers of Lebanon, have a chance to play for a sectional championship. And for the Lebanon Tigers, only one sectional championship in their entire history. It goes all the way back to 1997. So it's been a long time coming for the Tigers, and for Huntington North fans. Huntington North with their best season since the 2008 campaign, at least. And Huntington North won sectional title as well, coming all the way back to 1993. So we could see a pleasant regional bound team coming out of this sectional over the next couple weeks. And then we look at 4A sectional 19 to wrap things up in football coverage. East Noble took care of business against Southside by the score of 45-7 in Kindaville. Dylan Krell once again doing Dylan Krell things as he had 10 carries for 164 yards and 3 TDs. That is, for all you math folks out there, 16.4 yards per carry for Dylan Krell. And East Noble is going to get that rematch against the Leo Lions at Lions Field. That is going to be the ANEC game of the week at around the northeast corner, as East Noble Leo set to embark on their rematch from week number 5, where East Noble defeated Leo 35-29, a key matchup that ultimately decided the Northeast State in favor of the East Noble Knights, winning the conference to themselves. East Noble looking for their first sectional championships 2020. Leo looking to repeat for the first time since 2011 for football. And they will, in the winner of that matchup, will face either Bishop Dwayner or the Wayne Generals. And if Wayne wins in that matchup against Dwayner, Wayne will be the visiting team in the sectional finals at either East Noble or Leo. If Dwayner wins this matchup against Wayne, Dwayner will be the host of this sectional championship. So, Dwayner coming off a 38-0 win over Columbia City. So Columbia City's season ends at 8-2. Dwayner won 38-0, which I think a lot of us did not expect it to be that lopsided, although we kind of expected Dwayner to be in this game, and I did predict Dwayner to advance. So that's not super surprising by the outcome, but I think the score was a little bit more surprising than I think most people anticipated. And then Wayne took care of business against New Haven, but the Generals are going to have their hands full against Dwayner, a team that they did not play this season. In fact, they have not played Bishop Dwayner in the regular season since before the divisions were implemented. So, but they did play them last year and they lost by 11 points against Dwayner. And now we get an opportunity to see just where the Generals of Wayne stack up against a very strong defense from Bishop Dwayner, especially with Kamar Nelson at Wayne at linebacker, running back. He's a guy that could be very interesting as well for the Wayne Generals. Now let's go ahead and shift over to volleyball over the weekend on Saturday. Volleyball regional Saturday took place across the entire state of Indiana. And unlike past years, this year was the first year with a new format for volleyball, although it's pretty similar to the basketball, baseball, softball state format, where you have the 1-game regional and then you have the 2-game semi-state. This past weekend was the 1-game regional. We had a few schools from the ANEC area that competed on Saturday. We'll go ahead and start with the ACAC, and we'll begin with Newcastle and Heritage. Heritage, unfortunately, saw their season coming to an end at the hands of the Newcastle Trojans, a 25-win Newcastle team to which Newcastle swept the Heritage Patriots 25-22, 25-19, and 26-24. So Heritage had an opportunity to even win this match, but in the end, Newcastle just a little bit better that day. Newcastle will be part of this 3A semi-state that we'll talk about in another video. As far as Woodland's concerned, they did take care of business in the regional, and Woodland remains undefeated all time against regional competition. 3 sectional titles, 3 sectional titles, 3 regional championships for the first time since 2013. Woodland is going to semi-states. And now the Woodland Warriors have an opportunity to embark some history, make a run to the state finals, which I believe they've been to Ball State at least once in their history. But I believe it was during the time in which they had the state semifinals and then the state finals hosted in a single week or day. I'm not 100% sure, but that was a different format at the time, and there was no semi-state back then in 2007, where you had regionals and then you go to the state finals, which was semifinals, and then the real state finals. Woodland, I believe, was part of it at one point. Woodland took care of business against Lakeland. They won this match 3-1. I believe the first set was like 25-17. Second set went to Lakeland 25-22. Woodland took the final two sets 25-20 and 25-10. Alyssa Anderson continues to lead the way of the Woodland Warriors. I believe she had well over 20 kills in that match. I think you look at even other players in that matchup that contribute for Woodland. Obviously, you look at McKenna Smith at libero, played a monster game on defense for the Woodland Warriors. The front row was awesome against Lakeland, especially down the stretch. You look at a player like, let's see, Katie Bottoms, the sophomore, some big kills down the stretch to seal the deal against the Lakeland Lakers. Alex Jackway at defensive specialist had a big game as well. I looked at, again, just the front row just had a monster game against Lakeland. And now Woodland has an opportunity to get to the state finals. We'll talk about Woodland's semi-state matchup in a separate video. We take a look at the Northeast Corner Conference. The NEA obviously didn't have any teams advancing past sectional, so really it was just the ACAC and the NECC, and the only other two members from the NECC that played. Fremont played South Newton in the regional finals. I believe they were at LaPorte, and unfortunately for the Fremont Eagles, they were unable to come back from an 0-2 deficit, and they fell in 4 sets at the hands of South Newton. The Rebels of South Newton, they took the first 2 sets 25-18 and 25-22. Fremont took the third set 25-15, but fell short in set 4, 25-20. You look at South Newton statistically, they were led by the Central Michigan commit, Taylor Kripe, with 22 kills on 47% hitting. She had 3 aces, 2 blocks, 7 dids. You also look around this South Newton team, number 19 for them, and that is Briley Eisminger with 19 dids. They had a couple girls with 3 blocks on this South Newton team. A couple girls in double figures, including number 22, the freshman Jada Kripe with 12 kills, and another senior, Madison Bollinger, with 10 kills. And unfortunately for Fremont, that means the end of high school volleyball careers for Addie Parr, for Claire Folk, who's going to St. Francis, for Delaney Bach, and for Millennium Miller, at least. I might be blanking one more name. I think they also have Lexi Stevens, who's also a senior, and she plays on the softball team at Fremont. Yeah, that's right. Defensive specialist. So you're talking about outside hitter, libero, defensive specialist, another outside hitter / defensive specialist, as well as their setter, Claire Folk. They do return some pieces back, including, I would say, Kaylee Neuenschwander would be a one to keep an eye on next season for the Fremont Eagles. I looked at maybe a player like Mallory Huffnagel. Huffnagels are pretty well-known athletes at Fremont. Emma Krager, their setter and defense specialist, who's only a sophomore. I look at her for a potential emergence. Chloe Verdon, their sophomore defense specialist, is another one. And then Harley Wise, another middle, who's a junior this season. But obviously, it's going to look a bit different next season for Fremont Volleyball, but no less the first ever sectional championship in the history of Fremont Volleyball, and they came 2 sets shy of winning their first ever regional. But thankfully for the folks in Angola, they were able to take care of business, but it did require some drama, some stress, and some 5-set thriller. And a 5-set thriller. West Lafayette took the first set 25-19. Angola took the next 2 sets 25-18 and 25-12. West Lafayette scored the final 3 points of that set to win 25-22. And then Angola, despite blowing an 8-3 lead in the 5th set, to which West Lafayette tied it at 8, the Hornets score 7 of the final 10 points, and they defeat the West Lafayette Red Devils 15-11 in the 5th set to win that first ever volleyball regional 3-2. And Coach Harris and the Angola Hornets are halfway there to Ball State's Worthen Arena and a state championship for Class 3A. I will be speaking with the two Harris sisters at Angola. Ava Harris, the senior setter, Maya Harris, the junior outside hitter, both players committing at the highest level of Division I athletics. Once their Angola high school careers come to an end, we will be speaking with those two Harris sisters about this season up to this point, as well as that regional championship game. They will be taking on Hammond Bishop Knoll at Plymouth on Saturday. I will be talking about the semi-state pairings in a separate video. And then lastly, I do want to make sure I address the IHSAA cross-country regionals, as the two regionals we primarily focus on around the Northeast corner take place at New Prairie and New Haven. We'll make this one pretty short for New Prairie because I think only a handful of them really were able to advance to state for cross country. One thing I will say for the boys section at New Prairie, Noah Bontrader of the Westview Warriors successfully won a regional championship at a time of 15 minutes and 13 seconds. I'm not sure how I remembered it so fluently, but here I am with my awesome photo memory, remembering all the statistics and whatnot. And also Evan Coral of Fairfield placed 12th in that regional at New Prairie. Keep in mind, I am not looking at this right now, so this is just off of memory. And I will tell you, just without any doubt, those are the only two that I remember advancing to state from that regional. Now, as far as the regional hosted by New Huntington University, which technically would be considered to be New Haven as the host, nevertheless, a lot of local kids were able to advance to that regional hosted by Huntington University. We'll start off with the ladies. Kenya Leach of Columbia City placed third at Columbia City, and thankfully for the team, they scored well enough. I think they had about 103 points, and they finished third as a team to advance to the state finals as a team for the first time since 2010. So all of the Columbia City players on the girls' side, they're playing in the state finals, no matter of their placing. Alex Friesen of Huntington North. So Kenya Leach is a sophomore. Friesen also a sophomore. She finished in fourth place. Rowan Norris of Leo finished fifth, another sophomore. Chloe Gibson of East Noble placed seventh, and then senior Ashlyn Myers of Prairie Heights finished 15th. Now, among those qualifying that on non-qualifying teams, usually top 15 gets you to the state finals, but keep in mind that there are teams that finish in the top 5 that do advance no matter what. So there are some players on non-qualifying teams that still advance no matter what. And that would be Sophia Haslett of Lakewood Park, who placed 16th. Katie Niles of Woodland placed 21st. Madison Gerber of Adams Central placed 23rd. And then Abigail Ramsire of Bluffton placed 29th. So congratulations to these ladies as they advance to the state finals hosted by Terre Haute on Saturday. And then on the boys section, Ryan Garcia of New Haven placed second, followed by Xander Reitner of Lakewood Park at third. Gavin Good of Columbia City placed sixth. Andrew Strong of Eastside placed eighth. Memphis Martin of Lakeland placed 10th. Daniel Moll of Columbia City placed 12th. Cooper Enyer of Angola placed 13th. And then for those that did not place in the top 15 but still qualified on non-qualifying teams, Caden Klink of Angola placed 19th. Dakota Sprunter of South Adams placed 23rd. Gavin Cook of Angola placed 24th. And then Jude Baumgartner of Bluffton just getting in those last couple spots at 25th. They are all going to the state finals hosted by Terre Haute. And this is the final week of the cross-country season as the fall season starts to wrap up. I lied. There is one other thing I do want to make sure I address here, and that is soccer. Unfortunately, the soccer season did not go as planned for the remaining schools that still managed to play in semi-state. We'll begin with the boys section of the semi-state, and that was Bethany Christian. They went to Kokomo. They took on a very strong 18-win Covenant Christian team, despite the fact Bethany came in as defending state champions. They went to PKs in a scoreless regulation, scoreless overtime, and unfortunately for Bethany Christian, Covenant Christian was just a hair better in the penalty kits. They defeated Bethany 4-3 in the PKs. So Covenant Christian will represent Northern Indiana in Class 1A in the state finals. And the Bethany Christian Bruins season comes to an end at 14-4-4, just one win shy of a trip back to IU Indianapolis for a state championship. Disappointing as it sounds right now, it's still a remarkable run for the Bethany Christian Bruins. And then lastly, I want to mention the Westview Warriors. They made the trip to South Bend St. Joseph to take on Faith Christian, a very strong 16-win Faith Christian team. Again, just like the Bethany Covenant Christian boys matchup, this matchup on the girls' side needed overtime and a scoreless tie. It looked like it may or could have went to penalty kicks, but unfortunately for Westview, Faith Christian was able to get one look at the net and they converted, and that was Hannah Bolton with the match-deciding semi-state clinching goal with about a minute 26 to go in the second overtime off the feed from Bailey Petit, and Faith Christian is going to the state finals. Westview, once again, one game short of their first ever trip to the state finals for girls soccer. One worthy of note for Westview, Bree Corey stopped 18 of 19 shots, just unable to get the job done for the Westview Warriors. And so the soccer season for 2024 and around the Northeast corner comes to an end. And so that is the talk around the corner. And now we get to our interviews. I'm here with two very talented players on this Angola girls volleyball team. Ava on the right, Maya Harris on the left of the screen here. And ladies, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good, feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, we came off an exciting night yesterday, so taking the day off, but feeling really good still.
I heard you ladies had a lot of fun last night on your way back from Southwood.
Yes, very, very much fun.
It was a very fun bus ride. A lot of music being played, and then just getting to go around the mound with everyone there supporting us was great. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. Before we talk about that regional championship, I want to kind of go back to the beginning of the season. Obviously, this team has went through a lot of success over the years, especially with Morgan Gardy and Maya Ball's class coming through, and they had a lot of success as well. Couldn't get it done in the regional, but you returned a lot back, despite the fact now that your dad and the coach of the Angola program became the head coach of the Angola. Lloyd Ball stepped down after last season and whatnot. You also still return a lot of seniors and talent back from this team. When did you realize that maybe this year was the year that maybe this team could do something that no other team at Angola has ever done before?
I think we knew from the start that we would still be super good this year. And then just like throughout the season, as we kept putting work in and we saw how much everyone was determined to get better and just really wanted to get further than we have in the past, it was just a turning point in how we played and how we acted as a team. And it just really helped us to get to the point where we are now. So.
Talk about the senior class from last year compared to this year, and how did the ladies from each of those classes have implemented and impacted the lives of you two, especially all the other players on this Angola team, to make the great program that it is today?
Yeah, I think the seniors from last year, obviously, it was a bigger class, but also had a few people going on for college level volleyball. But this year is mainly just basketball players, actually, plus Ava. But I think they were also very motivated to want to win, and they had that drive in them. So it really pushed us to work hard.
I think as the senior class, we really stepped up and took leadership, and I think the way we played and acted towards the rest of the team really changed than it has been in the past few years. So.
Talk about the family dynamic with this program, especially with you, Maya, and then Ava playing alongside each other. Ava gives majority of your assists come off of Maya kills. Maya kills coming off almost 99% of all those assists from Ava. Talk about that dynamic there.
We played with each other for as many years as I can remember, but I guess just having that connection, really kind of works the best. We know what we need from each other, and we know how to push each other to work our hardest, and it kind of just complements. They just complement each other, and it reflects off of us onto the team, and everybody just kind of works hard and wants to win.
Yeah, I think being a setter and a hitter, we kind of know like when each other is like down or messing up and what they need to get back to where they should be. So I think that living together and just being around each other constantly, it helps that dynamic a lot.
Angola is a bigger school amongst the schools that ANEC Sports covers in this area. But when you look at Angola in terms of dynamic with the athletes and the players provided at Angola High School, there's a lot of small school family feel. And even this program, it feels tighter than ever before with this program. Talk about the connectivity and the camaraderie with this program, with the Angola community.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of families. So, like, obviously, we're sisters, and then we have Kendall and Bailey Holman, who are sisters. So, there's a lot of family aspects in that, but also we've all played with each other since like middle school, and we've played club together. So, I think we just really came together this year, and it's more of a family than it ever has been. So.
Yeah, and I feel like this year we've worked a lot on like our team chemistry more than we have in the past years. So it's really pushed us together, and then that reflects off into how we play on the court. So just having that family like act around each other is just helps in the volleyball aspect.
Quickly, before we discuss the state tournament, I do want to ask a curveball question here. Who's the most competitive player on the team, and who's the most loose, I guess, to say?
I'd say one of the most competitive would be Bailey.
Yeah.
She gets very competitive in the best ways possible. And she really gets that energy out on everyone else too, to work hard and want to win. And so I feel like she's very competitive and just has that drive in her.
I would say one of the more looser players is Lexi. She obviously does want to win a lot, but she also is just has fun, and she brings a lot of light to the team, and I think that's really good balance to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the interesting balance of personalities certainly is shown with Angola over the years and whatnot. Let's talk about the state tournament. Obviously, the sectional that your team's always in is always the most competitive. And when you bring in East Snowball and DeKalb now, it makes it even more competitive than ever before. Obviously, you took care of Bishop Dwayner in 3 sets, 3 very close sets. You beat Concordia in 3 close sets. Obviously, you two played a massive role in that as well. The regional, going to Southwood, long trip down there to Wabash, taking on West Lafayette. Talk about the pregame vibes going into that matchup down in Southwood, knowing the history with going to regionals and knowing that this is one game. Win this game, you win a regional championship.
Yeah, I think we were all really excited, but also nervous at the same time. We definitely wanted to kind of like break the curse of not being able to win a regional. So we were all nervous, but I think on the bus ride down, we were trying to get hyped up. We were playing music, and it was just a lot of exciting moments. And I think that we got like our butterflies to fly in formation, whereas other people's butterflies may have just been flying around. But I think we kind of took our nerves out and used it to our advantage. So
yeah, the past few weeks in practice, not only have we been been physically training, but we've also been mentally training. A lot of mental performance videos and kind of just learning of how to control those butterflies and keep them in formation, which is one of the things we talked about. But also like having pressure, like that's a privilege, and knowing that everyone kind of stepped up and we were able to not be as nervous and kind of reset when we needed to, and just being able to be mentally tough too.
And I think it helps. Experience was your best friend going in and whatnot. So obviously, West Lafayette, we've heard about their scrappiness on defense, and they've had some players that are seniors that were very good this year for the West Lafayette Red Devils. You were down 0-1 that first set, fought your way back, and then set 4 comes in, had opportunity to close set 4. West Lafayette comes back. I think they scored the final 3 points to force the 5th set. Talk about the transition between sets 4 and 5, because for those that don't understand volleyball is very much a momentum sport, especially when going from one set to another. Talk about that transition from going from, man, we could have had it set 4 to let's just focus on winning set 5.
Yeah, I mean, set 5 is definitely a hard spot to be in. You never know which way it will go. And so I think our kind of way of thinking of that is the first to 5. We always try to come out on top first, get that energy rolling first, so we can take that momentum into the rest of the set.
Yeah, definitely set 5 is probably the most mentally hard and physically sets to be in. it could go anyone's way. Anyone could win that set. But yeah, it's just first to 5 and who can last the longest and work the hardest.
And it showed because you jumped out to that bait that lead. I think it was 5-1 at one point, set 5, 8-3 at one point. Then West Lafayette Storms back to you knew that was going to happen. They tied at 8, and then you came back and you were just resilient, showing that battle tested work all season long. That value amount of and the quality of work that showed over the years finally paid off. Obviously, you had some big plays on defense, from players like ANEC McCrea, and you had Kendall Holman with big kills, and you had Lexi Stolman with big kills, Ava with big time sets, and then obviously the last play of the match, Ava fittingly cross pass to Maya Harris to win the regional. Talk about that moment when you realized that this was over and Angola was a regional champion.
Yeah, I think on that last point, we kind of knew, like, okay, this is it. Like, we're winning this. And, as a setter, I always have so many options. And I think that everyone really wanted to be the one to get the kill, which is great. But I know Maya is always just there, and she's always ready to put the ball away. But, yeah, I think Maya told me that one of our players, Savannah Bixler, on set 14 was kind of, like, shaking and, like, getting emotional because we knew that we were about to win this. And so that's just a great feeling to have. Like, we know that we have it, and we're just so confident in our ability to win.
Yeah, it was a great team effort. It started with a good serve from Bailey, and she was able to get a great dig off it, and then Ava put up a beautiful set, and then I put it away. So after, like, that, we kind of just knew, like, wow, like, we did it for the first time, like, ever in history. And, I mean, it's a great feeling, and it really brought up our hopes and just determination to keep on going in semi-state.
This is Maya and Ava Harris of Angola. Maya is a junior outside hitter. Ava Harris is a senior on this Angola team. Before we talk about semi-state, I do want to mention your future homes at the college level. Ava, you're going to Villanova next year. Maya, you're going to have to wait an extra year. You're going in 2 years to Illinois in the Big Ten. Obviously, me being a Purdue fan, that's kind of exciting there and whatnot. Talk about the valid reasons as to why you chose those two programs.
Illinois, I've always wanted to be in the Big Ten. It's been a dream of mine since I was little. So knowing that I had the opportunity, it really edged me forward to choose them. But also, coaching staff is great. They have a great team chemistry, and they're all just one big family. And, like, that's something that I really look forward in a college. Just knowing that for the next 4 years, that those are the people I'm going to be around like, every day. So team and the players and the culture, like, that was probably my biggest draw forward.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously Villanova is a great school with really good academics, and it's a beautiful campus and a great spot. But I think what pushed me over the edge when deciding was when I went and visited there, the people were just so amazing. The coaches were great, the teammates were great, and I just, like, really felt that the people there were very similar to me, and I just would really fit in there. And they just gave me a great opportunity, and I'm just really excited to be there next year. So
that is for sure. So now we move forward, and obviously this week is preparation for your team to prepare for a long road trip to Plymouth, which is over in Marshall County. You're going to be taking on Hammond Bishop Knoll in the 3A semi-state. I believe they are ranked just one spot ahead of you, according to some polls in the statewide. You're ranked 7th. They're ranked 6th. Looking at the overall numbers of Bishop Knoll, it seems like they do serve the ball very, very well. They're also probably scrappy, just like West Lafayette. So I would imagine this is probably going to be another long match, as we would expect. And especially with this being a 2-round day in semi-state, because now it's being reversed to 2 rounds semi-state to kind of go along with basketball, baseball, and softball, whatnot. Talk about your early impressions with Hammond Bishop Knoll and the fact you're going to be playing potentially a 2-game semi-state.
Well, we haven't talked much about what they are because today is our day off. But I think knowing that they're a good serving team and scrappy, that I feel like teams like that really push us to work our hardest so we can play up to our own level and, like, our highest capabilities that we know we can. So I think we just need to really just work it out and just have that mental and physical stability throughout the whole match.
Yeah, and they're obviously going to be a really good team if they're in this spot. So I think we just really have to take this week to focus in, learn more about them, and really dial in ourselves as well so we can prepare to play them on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And so for those that don't know, Angola will play Hammond Bishop Knoll at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And then the second match will feature Newcastle and Northwood, a team that you two ladies are familiar with from a variety of years, especially this year, beating them in 5 sets. They're ranked I believe they are ranked number 4 in Class 3A, so they're going to be just as difficult if you're fortunate enough to get past Hammond Bishop Knoll. So very, very exciting day, no less. Final question from me. Obviously, you want to get to the state finals in Muncie, Indiana. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal, is playing in one of the greatest venues in all of volleyball in the state of Indiana, in Ball State, and one at Worthen Arena. But now you're making history for the first time in the history of the program. How exciting does it feel for the community, your family, the parents, the past players, to be talking about Angola volleyball doing something that no one has ever done before?
Yeah, it's great. And it's so amazing to be a part of this team that is making history and knowing that our work has paid off. And the community support has just been so amazing. I mean, our match at Southwood was like an hour and a half away, and we still had like a whole student section, a bunch of fans there, and it was just great to have everyone there cheering for us. But I think we can't put too much pressure on ourselves to get to state and to get all the way there. And we just really have to focus on the next game and our next match. So.
Yeah, it's a great feeling to make history for our high school, and I think everyone on our team, including all the seniors, really felt good about this win and proving to everyone that we had a chance and that we were better than some people said that we were going to be this year, with losing some of our main key points. But I think it's just a great feeling just to be able to prove to people that we were capable.
Yeah, that's for sure. And for you and for Ava Harris, for seniors like Ann McCrea, Bailey Holman, Lexi Stillman, Kendall Holman. I go down the list across the order. I mean, this program had a lot of exciting moments as this school embarks history and unprecedented history, for no less, for female sports at Angola High School, to be this close to playing for the state finals, which Angola has never done in a team sport like volleyball or basketball or football. So it definitely is an exciting time, no less, to be a part of that opportunity. Maya, Ava, any final thoughts before I let you go?
Nope.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, that is Maya and Ava Harris of the Angola Lady Hornets as they prepare on historic first semi-states as they will take on Hammond Bishop Knoll at Plymouth High School. Ladies, thank you for taking the time to talk about the Hornets, and good luck this week.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm here with the head football coach of the Prairie Heights Panthers, Pat McCrea. Coach, how are things going for you and your Panthers?
Doing really good. Thanks, Sam.
All right, Coach. Before we talk about this season, I do want to talk about your time at Prairie Heights over the years. This is your 9th season at Prairie Heights. And when you first came in, this is a program that went through a lot of struggles. I think they were winless at that time and went through a little bit of a losing streak at that point. Coach, when you look back between when you first came in as a head football coach to now, where have you seen the most improvement with the program, and especially with the way it has handled with the community aspects of Prairie Heights football?
Well, I mean, as far as the community, the Prairie Heights community has always been great in supporting us and our team. Even when we've had some really struggled years, they've always been there and supporting us. But, our kids are always blue-collar, hardworking kids. And, this year it's just been really fortunate to have a big group of seniors. We have 16 seniors this year. So, in high school football, especially in small school football, it's a numbers game. And when you have a lot of kids, that helps tremendously.
That is for sure. Going into this season, obviously this last season for Prairie Heights in 2023, your team was winless, but it seemed like the program was showing a lot of fight still, and it seemed like a young team was going to eventually improve going into this season. Talk about the excitement about this year's Prairie Heights Panthers.
I think it really left off with last year. We went into sectionals 0-9 and went into Central Noble. They beat us in the regular season last year. I think it was 55-0. And we went into that game last year and we ended up losing 14-0. But, hats off to our seniors that we had last year. I think that the hard work and determination of them guys and sticking through it with the season, I think that helped to bleed over into this year and help get our kids started off on a good foot. And we brought in extra kids who didn't play last year from that senior class, and that's really helped a lot. And a good group of kids this year. We started off the season with a roster of 50 kids, and in my tenure at Prairie Heights, that's been the most kids we've ever had on roster. So, ended that season last year, wasn't what we wanted, what we hoped for last year, but I think that group of boys who played last year helped build on what we're doing.
And anytime you get 50 kids at Prairie Heights for football, that's a huge deal. I remember the days when it used to be maybe getting 30 kids at Prairie Heights was seen as like that was a big deal. So getting 50 was just that's a tremendous accomplishment for your program at Prairie Heights. Obviously, you started the season with a win over Whitco. I believe it was like 56-14 at Whitco, and that was a game where Jordan Club set the record, I believe, for receptions. I believe in a game against Whitco and whatnot. And it really was just the beginning of something that was something we have not seen in Prairie Heights in quite some time, especially with the 3-1 start. You had Clump on that team. You have other kids on that team as well. Obviously, we'll talk about Mac Armstrong in a matter of moments. But just talk about the team's resilience and then their depth throughout the lineup, where at any given point, any of these players can come up with a big play.
Yeah, that's been a big thing, especially like I said, being a small school and having good numbers like that. That really helps because we've had kids who maybe for a week or so have been injured. We've been able to move other guys in, and not necessarily freshmen. In the past, we've had, low numbers, and, you get one or two guys hurt, and then all of a sudden it seems like you're starting a bunch of freshmen to fill in. And this year, that being that we've had, more kids on our roster than ever before since I've been coaching, that's been a huge benefit. When you've had a kid injured, we don't have to backfill with freshmen. And, some guys that have stepped up this year, and then, it's just been amazing. Connor Sizemore, he's a sophomore. Started off at the beginning of the year, he was injured. He didn't play the Whitco game. I don't believe he played week 2 either against Bronson. And then Connor has just steadily worked his way up and gotten better and better each week. So that's been a really good thing for us.
Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the lineup with Prairie Heights, obviously you have some multi-sport athletes on this team that are experienced, especially like in wrestling. One of the top sports at Prairie Heights is wrestling. So you have the Hagewood kids that play both ways. That's a huge deal at Prairie Heights because of the fact you always have to play both ways on this team. And then you got, obviously, we talked about Mac Armstrong, a kind of a dual threat quarterback who can run and throw the football. He obviously recently set the program record for career passing yards at Prairie Heights, which I believe was previously set by Ethan Hoover just a few years ago at Prairie Heights. So talk about Mac Armstrong's growth over the years at quarterback that has helped him become who he is. And he's only a junior, by the way. So we get one more year talking about Mac Armstrong at quarterback.
Yeah, I think it was his freshman year. His first start was against Cherubusco, and that probably couldn't have been a worse situation for him to step into as a starting quarterback. That was not one of his best games by far as a quarterback at Prairie Heights, but at that time we felt like, hey, we were going to give Mac a shot and see where things could take us. And, Mac, you're right. Mac is a dual threat quarterback. His rushing yards, he's, I think right now, second on the team in rushing yardage this season. And, I think getting those early starts as a freshman has helped him out a lot, as he's progressed through last year and this year. And I think there's a lot left on the horizon for him.
Mm-hmm, that is for sure. Let's go ahead and shift towards the sectional game. Obviously, after going 3-1, you had a little bit of a losing streak. Then the big win against Fremont happened in week 8. You get some momentum going into sectionals. You drew Central Noble in the first round, a team you beat in the regular season this year back in week number 4. You beat Central Noble 26-14. Again, talking about the common theme of Prairie Heights. Matt Armstrong does what he does best at throwing the football and running the ball. You got a balanced rushing attack led by the Hagewood kids. You got some receivers that collectively get their targets and whatnot. But then on defense, you're making the plays, whether it's Walker McCrea, whether if it's the Morgan kid who had 3 sacks against a really talented quarterback in Brody Morgan of Central Noble, who I believe threw for 265 yards and set the Central Noble program record for completions and whatnot. Talk about the ability to get that win on the road against a Central Noble team that was hungry for a win, and knowing this was going to be the last game for some of these seniors at Central Noble. How do you be able to come out and gut out that win against Central Noble?
Well, I think that just goes back to a little bit of history. I told the kids last week, even though we beat Central Noble like we did in week 4, I told them at the start of last week, I said, guys, don't expect Central Noble to come out and lay down for us. I said, those kids are going to come out and they're going to fight you. And I said, just like last year, we went into that sectional 1 game last year, 0-9, after Central Noble beat us in the regular season 55-0. And our kids went out there and fought tooth and nail every play. We ended up losing that game 14-0. And that was like the whole thing I stressed to them last week was, do not count these guys out. They are going to come out and fight you. And my message to the team last Friday night was, we got 48 minutes to go out and earn a shot at another 48 minutes. And I wanted them to empty their tanks. So, and I felt like our kids did that. They went out and they fought back just as hard as Central Noble did, fought harder and emptied their tank. And we earned another 48 minutes next week.
That is for sure. As you look at Prairie Heights football, that was the 11th postseason win in the history of the program. So that makes it a little bit more special for the program. You reached 5 wins for the first time since 2013, and only, I believe it's the 3rd time since 1989. And I know people are getting tired of hearing that year at Prairie Heights football, but this is a big deal for this program going in the right direction. And now you have an opportunity to get a 6th win, something that hasn't happened at Prairie Heights since 1986. You're going to play East Side. You're going to be at home in front of your very loyal home crowd at Prairie Heights. You're going to be hosting East Side, team that beat you by 13 points in the regular season. When you talk about the matchup of the East Side, and obviously it's going to be harder for East Side to win that second game because of how hard it is to beat the same team twice. Talk about the matchup of the East Side up front. Talk about that matchup knowing you're going to have to face Joe Richmond at quarterback. And then talk about what are things that your team's going to have to continue to do well to have an opportunity to win this game.
Yeah, excuse me. Excuse me. East Side's going to be East Side. They're a really good football team. They've traditionally been a really good football team. And, our kids are just going to have to work hard. And if we want to win this game, we're going to have to be willing to work harder than them guys and fight harder. It doesn't matter to me who they got at quarterback. I know that they're going to be the same East Side team. They like to run the football. Their quarterbacks, no matter who it is, have always been really good at running the football. And they're tough kids and they're tough to beat. And, I don't expect anything less from them than we've seen in them in the past. And Coach Brandywee's done a good job picking up, that program and moving forward. And, we're excited to play them guys at home and looking forward to a good game this Friday.
So I guess we should be forecasting some hard-nosed football on Friday, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure East Side's gonna want to run the football. That's for sure.
Yep, that's for sure. Final question from me, Coach. Obviously, you're kind of a Prairie Heights guy, and this community has embraced you and your family within the Prairie Heights football program. The feeder system has been a big part of Prairie Heights' growth over the years. Just talk about how appreciated that you feel about being a part of the Prairie Heights family, a very small community that feels like it's a big family over there in Brushy Prairie and whatnot. That blue collar feel of Prairie Heights has always resonated with the Prairie Heights community. Just talk about how much do you appreciate being a part of that Prairie Heights culture?
Oh man, that means everything to me. You know, that's where I grew up. I remember watching guys when I was a little kid. My dad was a local farmer. When I was in kindergarten, first grade, a lot of the football players used to bale hay for my dad. And just growing up watching Prairie Heights football, and then as I came up through the program, man, I just love our community and being a part of it. Win, lose, or whatever, we always have really great fans who are there supporting us and just wanting our kids to do the best. And I love Prairie Heights and Brushy Prairie. I mean, that's a badge of honor for guys like me and kids at our school. You know, we are Brushy Prairie.
That is for sure, and your community embraces that for sure. This is Patrick McCrea, the head football coach of the Prairie Heights Panthers, as they get set to take on the Eastside Blazers in the sectional semifinals. Coach, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Nope, just want to say thanks to guys like you and everybody else in our area and the media who promotes high school football.
All right, Coach. Thank you for taking the time to talk about the Prairie Heights Panthers, and good luck in the sectional semifinals against the Eastside Blazers.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Well, that's going to do it for the 13th episode on the ANEC Sports Podcast. I want to give my sincere thanks to the following guests here this evening for coming on the show. Angola's Maya and Ava Harris of the Angola Volleyball team, and Prairie Heights head football coach Pat McCrea. Next week, we'll have a new lineup of guests, including some folks from the basketball scene, as next week we'll start the 2024-25 girls basketball season. We'll have basketball previews on top of whatever we have left for football. And from there, we will be getting things rolling on the hardwood of the basketball season. And so, my name is Sam Fritz. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the ANEC Sports Podcast. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. So, until next time, I say so long. Thank you for watching the ANEC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page ANEC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. Also, like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner, and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for ANEC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner, and you will find us there. You can also follow the man himself, Sam Frick, the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, for other additional content. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.